I'm pregnant and my husband has been sleeping with my mother. I, 26 female, have found out that my husband, 30 male, is sleeping with my mother, 52 female. I honestly don't know how to react. I'm 4 months pregnant and I'm trying not to stress since it's bad for the baby. I honestly had suspicions about my husband cheating. When I announced my pregnancy, he seemed happy. Over the moon, actually. He was kissing me and telling me how lucky he was to have me, but now he changed. About 2 weeks after my surprise announcement, he stopped hugging me and kissing me like usual. He stopped eating the meals I'd make for him after work and said he already ate some fast food or something. I also noticed he had changed his lock screen, which was a picture of us. Not sure if that meant anything, to be honest. I found out 3 days ago. I went through his phone while he was in the shower and found text messages, videos, and pictures. I'm sick to my stomach thinking about what I saw. I saw pictures of my mom in lingerie and he was replying with pictures of his wee-wee, saying he was so hard for her. I even saw a message of regret. He had said that maybe they should stop since he didn't want to hurt me, but my mom said I wouldn't get hurt as long as they kept it all a secret. But what angered me the most was the message she sent a few days ago. I'll quote it here so anyone reading this can get an idea of how serious the affair is and has been. I love you so much, more than you think. You've helped me through the passing of my beloved ex-husband, and for that, I truly thank you. I know it is hard for you to keep a secret like this. For me, it is too. I love my daughter with all my heart, but she will have to accept eventually that love is love and that the heart wants what it wants. Our hearts want each other. I thought that ever since my husband died, nobody would ever love me because I'm just an old woman, but you have shown me to love myself and made me feel young and sexy again. Let's keep having fun and cherishing each other. I think it's important to know my father passed away about 5 years ago from a stroke, and my mother said she refused to get back into dating or romance because my father is her forever love and only. It's absolute bullshit. I'm fucking crushed that it's the fact that I know they had sex after that message because that was the night he didn't come home until 1 in the morning due to work and paid overtime. I actually threw up after reading the message. I have screenshots of the messages and I've sent the videos to myself. Of course, I deleted them on his phone so it looked like he never sent me anything. I'm numb. I'm confused. I'm hurt so bad. I can't even cry because I refuse to believe it. My husband is at work. I'm sitting on the edge of my bed writing this. Any advice?
Am I the asshole for not telling my parents that the event they were missing was my wedding? Buckle up, guys. This will be kinda long. So I, 27 female, have a younger brother, Mike, 21 male. He is the definition of a man-child and a mama's boy. Always complaining, always expecting others to bow to him. Just overall, an asshole. Ever since he was born, my parents fussed over him for everything. He's not special needs or had a traumatic birth or anything of the sort. He was just born. And my parents completely discarded me. My mom, 50 female especially. She went from being a loving mother to one of those boy moms that people make fun of on the internet. My father, 50 male, still showed me love and support, but he's always been too much of a coward to stand up to my mother and let me win at least once. The only one who stood up for me was my grandpa, 76 male, who always called my parents out on their bullshit and never liked my brother. I reminded him of his late wife, my grandma, and we have a very special bond, but he lives on the other side of the country and I could never see him that often. Mike knows our mom prefers him and loves to shove it in my face. Because of this and his behavior, we've always been at odds. He's spoiled, a brat, and an awful human. I can't remember how many times I ended up in trouble for things I did better than him or for things he framed me with. His only talents are his football skills. He won a scholarship to a nice college out of state. My parents didn't spend a dime on my education because apparently my fund had been used to cover expenses after a fire, just for me to discover years later that said money was given to Mike to buy a car and a house. It's at public university that I met Lucas. He was the first person I was really drawn to there. Of course, I met new people who are now my dearest friends, and thanks to them and Lucas, who was my best friend for years before we got together, I managed to move out of my parents' house. Now, both Lucas and I are well known in our fields and have very good salaries. Now, to the main issue. Lucas proposed to me a year ago. We're very private people, so we didn't post it on social media or anything. And when I told my parents, they dismissed it with a, quote, "That's nice." I'm starting to think they downright don't listen to me at all. We decided that we wanted a nice but simple ceremony and reception with our friends and relatives. Lucas convinced me to invite my parents and brother, but they never responded to the invite. And whenever I went to visit and began to talk about my wedding, without mentioning it was a wedding, my mom would always speak over me about my brother's accomplishments and wild adventures. At one point, I got fed up with it and interrupted my mom to tell her that there was an event I was planning, whose date was unmovable immovable. She told me that they couldn't attend because my brother was playing the last game of the season that very same day, and they wanted to be there for that. Of course, this favoritism doesn't surprise me. They missed my ballets, shows, and both my high school and university graduation for things about him. At this point, I wanted to be petty. I told both my parents that it wasn't a problem to miss this event, purposely omitted the fact that this event was my wedding, and didn't insist further. Flash forward to a few weeks ago. I got married. It was perfect. My family, Lucas's family, and our friends were all there, and we had a blast. My grandpa was happy to give me away, and it was just perfect. My relatives asked me multiple times why my parents weren't there with us. I was honest and simply said they had my brother's game to attend and couldn't come. They gave me a few looks, and my grandpa was visibly angry for a while, but otherwise nothing strange happened. After the reception, Lucas and I left for our honeymoon, and we were phone free for the whole duration of the trip. But once we got back, we discovered that a shitstorm was welcoming us home. I turned my phone on and was unable to even unlock it before a storm of notifications popped up. Most of them were from my mother and brother. Mike called me all sorts of nasty names and insulted me because apparently one of my paternal aunts posted the photos of the wedding on Facebook and captioned it with a very obvious dig at my parents.
Nice.
Especially my mom for missing the wedding. The post apparently went viral in my parents' community, and they've been publicly shamed for their mistreatment of me. It also turns out that my grandpa personally visited my parents to go on a tirade to shame my father, his son, to the point of tears.
Good.
And this seemed to be my father's breaking point because he was so distraught for missing his only daughter's wedding and for his father's disapproval that he finally rebelled against my mom and is threatening divorce unless she makes it up to me. I think that's the reason why my mom has been spamming my phone with messages. At first insulting and threatening, and then downright pitiful, full of begging and pity parties.
Oh, man.
Now I'm at home with my husband, deciding how to approach the situation. Most of my relatives, even those I didn't invite to the wedding, reached out to apologize for what I went through and to claim they had no idea this was happening at home. Can't blame any of my relatives. They all live with my grandpa on the other side of the country or in another state. But my mom's sisters and friends are belittling me for not telling my mom about the wedding because now she's inconsolable at the thought of having missed my wedding. Personally, I think she just claims that to save face.
Yep.
But I'm not sure. The latest messages from my father and mother seem extremely saddened and hurt for missing my wedding. Now my family is divided on 3 fronts. The majority, who is sticking to my side, my maternal aunts shaming me for hurting my mom's feelings, and my maternal grandparents who are adamant that I forgive my mom in light of her, quote, atonement. My best friends are telling me not to listen to them. So Reddit, am I the asshole?
My name is Abby. I went to high school in Japan, and I know the mean girl. So I feel like in every classic shoujo anime or drama, they have the popular pretty girl that everybody likes, and she's so sweet and she's so lovely, but behind everybody's back, she's actually super evil. Best example I can think of this is Kurumi-chan from Kimi ni Todoke. I feel like we get kind of like a foil version of this in Skip to Rofa. This is basically the Japanese equivalent of a pick-me girl. So when I was in high school, very first day, this girl came up to me and tried to be friends with me. Let's call her Hana-chan. Hana-chan had lived abroad for a while. She spoke a little bit of English and she was so sweet to me. Immediately asked me to hang out, took me to karaoke, went to Purikura together. I was like, oh my god, Japanese people are so nice. This girl's gonna be my new best friend. She even invited me to be part of her group for Shugaku Ryoko, which is so nice because she barely knew me and I just got into school as an international student, so that was so sweet of her to invite me. Then as soon as we arrived in Kyushu, girls started acting kind of strange. All of a sudden, every time I spoke, she was like, "Nani?" Which was just really weird, and every time I suggested we go anywhere, she was like,
ねえ、はなちゃん、そこ行きたいんだけど。
え？
そこ楽しそうじゃん。
あそこ行きたいの？
うん、一緒に行ってくれる？
一人で行ってきたら？
あ、一人で？
日本語難しいか？
いや、そんなこと。
Like, complete personality 180. And it only got worse. After this trip, every single time we spoke, she acted like she hated me. even though I'd never been anything but nice to her, and even though we barely spoke, when it was in front of boys or when she wanted to take a picture to post to social media, she would run over and be so sweet to me. Abi-chan, 一緒に写真撮ろうよ! And then as soon as it was done, it was じゃあまたね, and just leave. Maybe some of y'all are familiar with a character called Takeru-kun, of Takeru-kun Chronicles fame. Hana-chan is also a character in this story. We're expanding the world, guys. Hana-chan, like everybody else, loved Takeru-kun. And she called him Takechi. So every time he was around, it was Takechi, yahoo, 久しぶり, 元気, 今日もかっこいいよね, すごい. それできるの? すごい. 私全然できない. Takechi, 今日アビと遊ぶんだけど来る? 本当? 来るの? やった, 行こう. I still remember a day in art class where like she had some like glitter on her makeup. It was kind of pretty. I was like, oh, that's kind of special. It's kind of new. So I said, ねえねえ, なんかキラキラつけてるよね. 超かわいい. And I kid you not, Hana-chan's reaction was, ありがとう。全然普通なんだけどね。いつもの通りだよね。ね。まあありがとう。Like what? Sorry for complimenting you. Sorry.
Am I the Asena for not letting my daughter have ibuprofen? I, 40 male, have a daughter, 14 female, who I have with my ex, 38 female. My ex-wife and I have been divorced for over 2 years, and since we're living in the same city, we both have joint custody of our daughter. She stays with me for 2 weeks of the month and stays the other 2 weeks with her mother. 3 days ago, when my daughter came to my place, she was on her period and was having ibuprofen to deal with menstrual cramps. Now, I generally tend to avoid allopathy medicines unless it's absolutely necessary, like conditions that have you hospitalized. I mean, for things like a cold or a fever, I think it's best to sleep it off instead of burdening your body with unnecessary pills. I noticed my daughter popping pills and got worried that she was going to become too dependent on them for a natural process, like a menstrual cycle. I asked my wife about this, and she told me our daughter has an irregular cycle, and so she has very painful cramps and needs the pills for the first 3 days. I wasn't too fussed about this, and I sat her down and talked to her about how unnecessary these pills are and how they will ruin her body when she's older and needs to be having a child. Menstrual cramps hurt, yes, but they're normal and they shouldn't be artificially reduced. I'm more than willing to allow her to rest and not do any of the chores while she's on her period too. But then she started crying and telling me that she goes through excruciating amounts of pain and she needs the tablets to be able to even move around. She also went on about how I won't understand her pain because I'm a man and I never have to deal with these things. The argument escalated and she got too offended when I told her that men and boys have struggles of their own and she shouldn't be using her period to paint herself as a victim. I just don't want my child to grow up weak-willed and soft. Millions of women before her have gone through life in their period and haven't dropped dead because they had to deal with some pain. It's high time she learned to respect her own body, and so when she was sleeping that night, I threw her ibuprofen away to finally give her a reality check and learn some willpower. She woke up and went ballistic and started throwing a tantrum. She told me she hated me and called me a misogynist because I apparently hate women. I didn't bat an eye when she said she wanted to go back to her mom. I called my ex and told her to pick her up because I really couldn't reason with her. My ex got angry with me when I told her what happened, but she does agree that I didn't deserve to be called misogynistic. But honestly, I was just trying to teach my daughter to have thick skin. When she was younger, she used to play all kinds of sports with me and we used to have so much fun together, and now she doesn't even want to play catch with me. And then this happened. Am I the astronaut?
Let me tell you the story time of the worst thing that ever happened to me at work. I've had about 5 jobs in my lifetime, and this one was when I worked at Cheap Store, which was probably my favorite job out of all of them. I loved Cheap, but this shift was not it. Also, side note, look how cute this can is. So basically, I was 16 at this point, and I'd just been like promoted to team leader. Like literally, I want to say a few days or like the week before this happened was my training shift. And it was very brief, like I would have had more, but then both my managers got COVID. And we had quite a small team. So it was my 2 managers, another team leader, and now me. And the other team leader had another job and she could only work on Sundays. And it was in the school holidays. And so we've just got this whole week to fill. And this was in 2021. So the COVID laws were still really strict. Like they could not come to work and they lived like an hour away from our store. So it was not good. So I'm like, okay, I'll do it. I ended up working a 40-hour week that week or almost, which is crazy because I was 16 and I felt so profesh. The reason this went downhill so quick though is I think it would have been the Wednesday. So I'd work the Monday, the Tuesday, the Wednesday, full day shifts, open and close. And I was just not feeling great. I got there, I'm like, oh, I can't do this. I'm ringing the other team leader and I'm like, do you reckon you could come in? And she's like, no, I can't. It's my only day off. I'm so sorry. Like I've got plans. And I was like, oh no. So I ring my manager who's got COVID and I'm like, what do I do? Because I was shitting myself. Like I literally was running back and forth to the toilet and crapping myself. Luckily our store was right next to the Westfield toilet. He was like, you can't like close the store. Like you can't go home. No one can cover for you. You're just gonna have to sit there. He's like, you can literally sit in the storeroom and do nothing, but like you've just got to like be there. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm 16. I'm like, ah. Surprisingly, this is where it gets bad. So I go down to the chemist to get some like gastro stop or whatever I can get my hands on. And it was literally like, you don't even have to ask the counter. You don't have to go to the counter to get it. But I couldn't see it. So I had to go to the lady at the counter. Do you want to guess who that lady was? One of the ladies I'd encountered on my many endeavors to the toilet. So like, and she saw me walking out that store and I remembered her because she gave me such a look. She gave me such a look and then I had to go to her for it. And it was literally so humiliating. I was like that lady knows me better than anyone. She was privy to everything. Yeah, and that was probably the worst shift at any job of my life.
My husband wanted open relationships, so I slept with his boss. Now, to be fair, I did not want this at all. And for the first 6 months, he would bring girls home all of the time, and I never got with any other man. The only reason I even agreed to this is because he told me he felt like he needed this in our relationship or we would get a divorce. We have 2 kids, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I haven't worked, so I was terrified, and I eventually just agreed. He would take all of these girls on actual dates. And I couldn't even tell you the last time this man took me on a date. He doesn't come home and bring me flowers or say anything sweet, give me random texts throughout the day saying that I'm beautiful or he loves me. And I thought that the whole point of opening up this marriage was so that he would fall back in love with me and get what he needed physically from somebody else, but that's not what happened. So finally I said fuck it, and I decided to also participate in this open marriage. And this led me to getting on a dating app where I ended up meeting this man that seemed so sweet. We talked for about a month and I finally agreed to go out with him. We went out and I had the absolute best time. This man opened my doors, pulled my seat back at the restaurant. He even brought me flowers on our first date. When I came home with the flowers, my husband immediately wanted to close the marriage and I said no. And honestly, it was out of spite. He's never gone on a date with the same girl twice, but I really liked this guy, so I ended up going on a second date with him. And that second date turned into a lot of other dates. He did tell me where he worked, but honestly, I didn't think much of it because the company is huge. So I thought there was no way that he knew my husband. That was until one day he asked me to bring him lunch, and of course I did. He told me what floor, and that is when my heart sank. That was my husband's floor. I went anyways just to spite him. So I go up to the floor, get off the elevator, and my husband's desk is one of the first desks there. He immediately stands up and assumes that I brought him lunch. He went to grab for it and I said, no, this is not for you. His face looked like he was in absolute shock. He asked who it was for and I said it's for the man I've been going on dates with. He instantly started screaming and calling me horrible names in front of everyone in his office. This is when his boss comes out, and this is the moment I realized I was sleeping with my husband's boss. And this is where my boyfriend learned who my husband was. To be fair, I did tell my boyfriend that my husband works at the same company, and he just always told me he didn't want to talk about it. He said if any man would open the relationship like he did, that he's stupid and he didn't love me the way that I deserved. And he always said he had no respect for him and he didn't want to know who he was because of that. And I'm not gonna lie, I agreed and I didn't push the issue, and it was just something that him and I never talked about. When we spent time together, it was always about us. It was never about my broken marriage. He made me feel alive again. He made me feel wanted. He made me feel loved. He made me feel everything that my husband used to and never does anymore, because it's just like I'm invisible to him. Anyways, once both of them realized who each other were, it just kind of went chaotic from there. My boyfriend ended up sending my husband home, and I ended up going into the office with my boyfriend. This is where he told me he couldn't do this right now, that he wanted to see me, he wanted to talk to me, but he cannot do this while he is at work. So I immediately left and I went to a divorce attorney. And then a few days later, I served my husband with divorce papers. And now I am exclusively seeing his boss, and we are beyond happy in our relationship.
These are conspiracy theories that I believe in. The number one biggest conspiracy theory that I believe in is the Mandela effect. I think it is 100% real. I'll put some examples on the screen. It truly will fuck with your brain when like you look up Mandela effect. This one may be just because I'm from Colorado, but I believe every conspiracy theory about the Denver airport. But if you just do some deep diving research into that airport, it is so creepy. I don't know if anyone's ever driven into the Denver airport, but if you have, you know the blue horse with red eyes that is so scary. First of all, the horse's name is Lucifer, and it killed the person who built it. Not saying that COVID was fake, but I definitely think that big disease outbreaks like that are 100% planned by our government to kill people. Maybe I sound stupid for saying that, but I think the timing of COVID being around the election and just everything like that was just fishy. I 100% think that the megalodon is still out there, if not something absolutely bigger than that. Given that we've only explored, what, like 7% of our ocean? There's just no way that there's not something bigger out there than the megalodon, or that it's still not out there. Like, I just don't believe that it's extinct. It was a little bit silly, but that place at Disney that's like all the previous presidents, and they're like animatron presidents, is that a thing? Like all the previous presidents as like animatronic characters. The one of Donald Trump was absolutely supposed to be Hillary Clinton. You look at it, you cannot unsee it. That is Hillary Clinton, and he looks so, like, feminine. Like, it doesn't look like him. Conspiracy theories are, like, one of my favorite things to learn about because I just love hearing them. So please comment below some that you believe in, some you don't believe in, because I would love to hear them.
Okay, I used to be a dancer, and as a dancer, obviously I knew that most of our clients were going to be men with wives or girlfriends or something like that, and, like, I was just an employee, okay? If I had ignored every man who had a wife or a girlfriend or something, I would have made 2 fucking cents. So one day this woman comes in and she's frantically scanning the fucking club. Immediately I know she's looking for her man. She absolutely is. And I'm looking away. I'm looking every direction but her because I don't want to make eye contact. I don't want her to come up and talk to me. But this was a black woman looking for a black man, and I was one of the only black girls who worked there that night. So obviously she came to talk to me. She first walks up, hey girl. She's asked me about the club. She's like, this is a strip club? And, like, I'm sitting here in my tiny little outfit. I was like, yeah, it's a strip club, you know? So the conversation gets extremely dry and awkward, and I don't know what else to say. And so she hands me $20, and she goes, be honest, have you seen this man before? I was in shock. Listen, there is no stripper-client confidentiality, okay? So I took a look at the photo, and I was like, you know what? He does look real similar to someone I saw in here earlier. But, like, let me ask my homegirl for sure. Okay, so she confirms, and I tell the girl, I'm like, yeah, he was definitely here earlier, but, like, I don't know where he is now. Like, he was here about an hour ago, haven't seen him since, you know? She asks if he could be in any of the private rooms, and, like, at this specific club, you can look into all of the private rooms. So I was like, I mean, you're more than welcome to walk around the club and, like, let us know if you see him. Like, I'm not stopping you at all. She looks around, doesn't see him, comes back. She's asking me if there's any other clubs in the area that, like, he might have gone to. I'm giving her directions to the nearest club over. And at that exact moment, the bathroom door opens. This man comes walking out of the bathroom, clueless as hell. So I look at the girl and I'm like, isn't that your man right there? She doesn't say anything. She doesn't say a fucking word. She hands my homegirl $20 and walks off immediately. And then this fucking moron doesn't even realize that she is walking right towards him. Doesn't even realize. He walks directly up to the stage, has himself a front row seat, completely clueless still. Okay, so at this point, she walks over, she sits down right next to him, and immediately starts screaming in his fucking ear. I don't even know what he's thinking. At this point, he hasn't even turned to look at her. He is staring straight at the girl on stage, not saying a fucking word. And I mean, what could he possibly say? Like, I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know. He gets up, still didn't say anything, walks out the club. She's following behind him, screaming, cussing his ass out the entire way out the fucking club. And I don't ever know what happened after that. So if that was you, like, please let me know what happened after you left the fucking club, because I'm so incredibly nosy and I haven't stopped thinking about it.
Am I the asshole for breaking up with my girlfriend after finding out she has a pen pal in prison? Been dating this woman for about 7 months now. Things are fine. We are both in our early 20s. I don't like to snoop or anything like that, and I'm generally pretty trusting. However, after moving into my apartment, I started noticing letters coming in from a prison, LOL. I decided to open one and found out that it was to my girlfriend, and it was a very descriptive letter and almost flirtatious. He talked about getting out and starting a new life and visiting her. I asked my girlfriend about this, and she said that he was an old friend and that I don't have anything to worry about. She said that she can talk to him about anything and enjoys getting the letters. When asked about the flirtatious nature, she said they used to see each other, but that was in the past. And he knows that. I decided to look this guy up and found out he has a lengthy criminal record, such as drug paraphernalia, possession, hit and run, assault, and robbery. He's been in prison for 3 years and still has another 18 months until he's out. I decided that it wasn't worth it to keep seeing her, as this could potentially be dangerous. Am I the asshole?
Am I wrong for promising my son something I have to break? So my son isn't like the typical boy. Well, he plays football, is athletic, flirts with girls, goes to party, etc. But he has always been someone that really likes to take care of other people. It started when he was a child. We brought his sister home and he would sleep in her crib with her and take care of her as you would a parent. He wanted to be the one to feed her, play with her, put her to sleep. It was really adorable, but we put a stop to it because it got to the point where she only wanted to be around her brother and didn't care about her parents. She still prefers him, which is embarrassing, but at least she's not calling him dad anymore. He's also always saving animals and bringing them home. We're not big pet people, so we've never had pets before, but he has snuck in a kitten and nursed her in his room before we found out. His best friend has sort of a bad home situation, so he often does his homework for him, even though we tell him not to, and he brings him food that he cooks himself. It does stress me out that he seems to want to mother someone so bad. That's like having empathy. What? He always talks about how much he loves a dog and how he's missing out on important childhood memories by not having one. He has begged us for a dog, but we've said no. While he says he will care for it completely, we know that's not feasible because he is in school for 9 hours a day and then also has sports and extracurriculars. He also has friends that he hangs around, so we hardly see him. Having a dog is a big no. We've explained this to him, but he's not happy about it. There is a giant lab that is a stray where we live, and a lot of our neighbors have been feeding and taking care of it. Yesterday I came home and my son had brought it inside, given it a bath and training it with treats. I said no dogs inside, play with him outside, and kicked them both out. Later my son came in to eat food. The lab was sitting right at the door, waiting for him to come back outside. His sister and him begged me to let them keep the lab, but I said absolutely not. Labs make a lot of mess and that one has a lot of energy. When my son goes to sleep, he's sad because the lab is still waiting at the door. He says a dog shouldn't be kept outside his whole life. He asked me if the lab is out there by the morning, if he waits outside all night, can I keep it? I decided sure. All night, him and his sister kept checking the door to see if the lab was still there, and it was. But I wasn't worried because I thought for sure it would be gone by morning, but it wasn't. He woke up in the morning and opened the door, and the lab was still there. Of course, they were celebrating keeping their lab, but I had to tell them absolutely not. I only said that because I thought he wouldn't be outside in the morning. I don't want a dog. My son said I'm breaking my promise and is upset at me. My daughter has been crying all day. So, am I the asshole? My partner invited his ex-convict friend to live with us, and now it's getting out of hand. My 28 female partner, 31 male, invited his ex-convict 33 male friend to live with us, and now it's getting out of hand. My longtime partner of 5 years invited, without my permission, his friend who he recently developed a relationship with through church to live with us in our home 2 months ago. Initially, I was upset because my partner had been telling me about his new friend when he was first getting to know him at church. I don't go to church, and I found that he was convicted of minor sexual assault charges 8 years ago. I don't think much of it until 2 months ago when I came home from work and I nearly called the police out of sheer panic because his friend, who I had no idea what he looked like at the time, was alone in our house because my partner had apparently invited him to live with us and my partner left him alone in our house while he went to go buy additional groceries and living supplies for him to be more comfortable. Long story short, I managed to forgive him for all of this after we had multiple conversations in private about why he did this. However, I made him accept a condition of mine, being that if his friend ever started to disrupt our lives that he would have to move out. Well, his friend has been doing exactly that. I could have given over 20 examples of what my partner's friend has done to disrupt our, mainly mine, my partner doesn't seem bothered, lives. But yesterday was a breaking point for me. I was in the shower and his friend walked into the bathroom without knocking and took a piss in the toilet despite the fact that we have 4 bathrooms in our house. And it took me literally screaming at the top of my lungs at him for my partner to hear and come into the bathroom and get his friend to leave. I expected my partner to be furious since his friend was violating my privacy, but he dismissed it when I got out of the shower by saying he obviously had to go, which I can't even begin to comprehend. It's just so incredibly stupid and not at all an excuse. Anyway, I'm currently crying as I write this because I don't know what to do. It's my partner's house, so ultimately he gets to decide who can live here. But I have lived with him for 3 years and been his partner for 5, so I'm just so incredibly confused as to why he seems to no longer value my opinion or my life that has been turned upside down by his friend. What actions do I need to take immediately?
Am I in the wrong for suspecting that my wife is doing something awful at her friend's bachelorette week in Mexico? She spent virtually zero money and took no pictures. My wife went to Mexico last week for her friend's bachelorette party, and aside from the plane ticket, the hotel, and the first day's food and drinks, she didn't spend a penny all week. I mean, on the credit card, it's clear as day that on Monday up until about 9 p.m., she was buying dinner, stuff at the hotel shop, drinks at the bar, souvenirs, and then at 9 p.m., she didn't spend another cent the entire week until she was at her layover airport in Dallas. She said it's because her friend took over and paid for everything. I guess this is plausible, but it's still giving me a funny feeling. What's worse is that my wife is a person who posts her entire life on Instagram and TikTok. Mostly Instagram. But if she does anything from get a latte to picking the kids up at school, she'll post it either as a picture or as a story. The last thing she posted on TikTok was at the trend of people jumping into their vacation from the airport, and after that, her social media is blank. I was kind of keeping an eye on it because I was excited for her to go on the trip, and again, I guess it's plausible, but it gives me a funny feeling. When she got home, I said I can't wait to see all the pics that she took, and she really blew me off and said that she just didn't feel like taking pics that week. She's also been incredibly distant, and last night she said she just felt like sleeping on the couch because the AC hits better. This is 100% true, but I swear I heard her talking on the phone in the middle of the night. When I got up to check on her, I accidentally tripped over the dog and made a huge racket, so when I got downstairs, she appeared to be asleep. I brought all this up this morning and said that I'm not accusing her of anything, but all this put together is making me feel uneasy. She said that you're a major effing asshole for bringing this up on her first day back at work. I said I wasn't trying to pry, just communicating with her, and she said, your communication is prying and I'm not discussing this with you ever again. She then took the kids to summer camp and left.